I think we're live. Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we have a special little topic. It's called Why Jordan B. Peterson's. So, basically the topic is internet not anonymous, and you might be familiar with the idea that he believes people on the internet have a responsibility to register with some kind of government ID. I mean, I would say that's at the extreme stance, because actually I don't really understand his stance perfectly, but it sounded like he doesn't want it to be anonymous. Okay, so what does it mean to be anonymous? Well, it means that nobody knows who I am, or like which groups specifically know and which groups do not know who I am. That's so then it's like, what are you even talking about? Anonymous? It's such a weird word. Anonymous? How are you going to be anonymous on the internet? Like step one, I have a computer. It has a serial number, and everything that I do and say is stamped in because it's made from this device. And then I'm connected to the Georgian internet, and they can see everything that I do. And then there's other people who have some relationship with these companies, and everybody knows I'm right here. So you're saying, oh, well, you can't post on Twitter unless you at least use your name and what? And your real picture? What are you talking about? Is this high school? So I thought, probably the best thing to do is require him to, every time that he posts on Twitter, he should have to do something crazy like this. So I just decided to leave a post on his YouTube page. And, you could say, well, it sounds kind of crazy, because not everybody understands exactly what I'm saying. All right, so the thing is that I have been to Auschwitz. Yo, what's up? Oh, I just gotta move that over. All right, in Auschwitz, the Germans, with the bad attitude, stole things from people. I mean, that's fairly neutral. Something like this one German fellow I bumped into at a hostel in Bulgaria. It's just a fact. These guys not only took beer from the fridge of the hostel without paying for. I guess we gotta edit it. Them. All the while the manager, the only person that seemed to work there, didn't do anything about it. He didn't. He was just like walking around. He's actually serving them beer, and then suddenly they're just like, oh, we just took whatever we wanted, from the fridge. And I was like, yeah, I think you have to pay for it. They're like, no, I just think it's included. And I was like, what? And then the guy, he's like scared. And I'm like, are you scared? Are you stupid? Are you what? How are you going to confront these three Germans? He did take a few of us on a scenic tour of a gypsy camp. So we're driving to the gypsy camp. It's crazy. And we bought some, it basically looks like a desert, except it's not sand, it's dirt. I was in Saudi Arabia. I went on this 4,000 kilometer motorbike trip up to Al-Ghula. First I went down to Abha, which is the highest point in Saudi Arabia. There's these monkeys at the top of the hill. And then you get to Al-Ghula, and it's like sand, and then these gigantic rocks that they turned into somebody's something. It's 4,000 kilometers, so I would say the gypsy camp is it's kind of like that, but it's dirt. It's not sand. And then there's just a little hut here and there. I mean, I guess there were solid buildings, but it's like one story and not very big, and then another one story, not very big thing, and then the street, and it's flat. There's nothing growing, and it's just dirt. And this crazy German kid. And we bought some vegetables in the small market. There were rough and tough fellows walking around. Suddenly, this German guy decides not to come back with us, but told us of his plan to see if he could survive a fight. One evening, I asked the German girl about something I had heard. In Auschwitz, and she said, "Not that word. No, that word sounds like Canada, and it meant the storage of all things that were stripped of the Jews. Canada still mean okay." And back to me. So, anyways, you can just figure out what I was talking about. It's an interesting idea. Canada still means great bounty. Anyways, what was the point I just made? I don't know if it made sense when I was reading it, but basically, like, what she was saying is the word Canada, and it has to do with some other situation. It's like people have different opinions on the matter. But I thought the word meant something else. And they're like, no, they translated it wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about? These Germans create their own history, I suppose. I mean, that would be the Western way to look at it. Canada still means great bounty. So the idea she was trying to present to me was that there was like some kind of storage. And the storage is where things were kept. Actually, I've been to that storage. I mean, it didn't really look much like storage. So there's like this big, huge section of hair. Then there's like glasses. And then, of course, on the first floor in the books section, you have to buy the book, right? Victor, whatever his name was. So that's the place where you get the book. What else are you gonna buy there? You know? Oh, a rock. Oh. Anyways, people are comparatively doing well and people still flooding toward it. So we're talking about Canada. People are comparatively doing well and people are still flooding toward it. The minister said the decrease was needed and likely this was a result of social pressure. No matter how you slice it, we're still living in a democracy. Powerful institutions influence the inner circle of politics. Some people are forced to engage in the forms of matter. I mean, maybe I should say forums. Forums of matter. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. And important to note that the other stories, and important to note, we need to pause. And important to note these stories, how people to feel. Okay, so this is how you gotta switch it up at the end. And important to note that these stories help us feel a sense of reverence for the battles that rage in the offices of state-level economic and pandemic management. So, I mean, they're always like, everybody's got their issue, right? So, I mean, you make your loudest noise and you try to get support and, a person can only do what they can do. And, it's the same thing if you watch that movie, that new American movie, Lioness came out, and then she goes into this girl, so there's like this helicopter pilot, and you're in the office, and the lady actress, she makes a fuss, like, I'm in command. So this is very different from politics, of course. And she just said one thing. She said, "Who's the boss here?" But you have to use a code. So she's like, "Do you love your country?" Because, like, there's a code. So who's in control? And she's just like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Some things come first. So either you believe or you don't. That's it. It's a belief. And politics, we can't look at politics because the people decide. That's it. It's just the people. But the people don't really understand. There's people, stupid people, man. So we're removing the emotion. The idea works better in the private sphere of influence. Exactly. It's very simple, right? All right, so let's go do your thing, make some money. It's like I had this girl, she told me a very, very difficult experience for her, and every time we talked about it, I just was like, bah! I'm like, you're making too much fuss. You're making too much fuss. That's it. You're making too much fuss. Let's focus on something productive. That's it. That's it. Period. And then she said it again. And I was like, it happened to me 3 days ago. It happens frequently. But I didn't actually talk like that. Because what I said was, let's focus on the positive. How do we focus on the positive? Because the things that happened in the past, there's two ways to get through. Either you heal or you heal through belief. All you can do is you create some type of faith, you seek after it, you try to feel for it, you try to understand it, and you try to allow it to grow. You watch for the patterns that happen in your life, and then you feel things. And it's more of like trying to choose the right, and it's more about like seeing some kind of relationship developing, and then also how do you communicate with the people around you. And it's the private sector, It's not that complicated, because there are some areas where countries are trying to provide for the needs of their people, or an organization, or something that they believe in. And so what happens is that sometimes people who fill those roles have certain qualities and significant demands on their time. So likely they're gonna crack all day and all night. An idea works better in the private sphere. Some ideas simply don't matter at all. We like to hope that the message attached, perhaps, to an injustice sometimes goes less unpronounced. Of course, it's like a complicated sentence. You have to read it twice, because it's all backwards, right? We like to hope that the message attached. So in this case, we're talking about whatever purpose you hope to fulfill when performing a duty in public office. We like to hope that the message attached, perhaps, to an injustice, and every type of person, from what they experience in their life and from their genetics, begin to create, what is it? So if we start at the bottom, like let's say we talk about innate instinct and social conditioning, educating and protecting. I like to start on the right-hand side because it's like more in point form. Innate instincts and social conditioning. Okay, so we're talking about biological instincts, empathy, fairness serve as foundation. That's what ChatGPT thinks. I have no idea. Shaped through social learning, norms, and evolutionary cooperation for group. What are all these stupid words? Anyway, so this is the old thing that they're like, is it nature or nurture? Maybe I should just type that. Nature or nurture. It's just saying that you have, like, as the good doctor says, proclivities, or however. I don't know how people, they're trying to talk like he talks. I have no idea how he talks. I'm mostly listening to the words. But that's how people, that's how they mimic. I don't really get it. Such a weird thing to mimic. Why are you mimicking his body pronouncement rather than the message? It's weird. So anyways, if you focus on innate instincts and social conditioning, okay, so let's just say that they do that because of something in them makes them jumpy. And then social conditioning, I can be funny. All right, so those are the two things. I want to be funny. It's funny kids. And then certain kids are funny kids. And then certain kids make it. And some kids attend. All right, so the next one is abstract thought. So that's what I was trying to get to when I pulled up the slide, because I forgot that word, abstract thought. Anyways, but then the rest, so what we're trying to do is what are we building on? When we talk about the innate instinct and social conditioning, so we're just saying there's an organism called human. And then, what did ChatGPT say? Comprehensive educational framework. Yeah, so it's talking about it's crucial to ensure a resilient, cohesive future society. So that's what ChatGPT thinks. It's crucial to ensure resilient, education and protecting children. Okay, so it's saying that the top values are educating and protecting children, but that actually pushes you all the way up to box number 4, because we don't actually get to these, or maybe box number 3. See, we don't even get to these values until 3. There's so much evolution that happens in these other steps. What is truth? What is morality? What is important? These are meta beliefs. These are foundational beliefs. Okay, but it's come on. It's I'm studying all these different languages. And what's the meta language? Do not compute. So it's impossible to compare every single type of culture, every single individual over all different types of time periods in all different it's such a crazy idea. So I just okay, whatever, values, core beliefs. Exhibit number 1, you have to choose a country. You have to narrow it down even further and further and further until what level? Until where are you? What are we talking about? So then, basically you come up with these policies and standards and principles, strategic goals. So the vision, this is what I always come back to anyways, is vision. It's derived from higher values and beliefs. It always goes back to values, beliefs. You have to believe. Values and beliefs. And then eventually it gets into law. But then there's this other thing called the police power. And it's part of civilization that is needed by the rest of us. And it's just various levels of policing. And we have a lot of levels of policing in the world. So, the politician has to decide what is important, what is moral, and what is true. And then the people in the citizenry also have to understand how can they support different things which are important, moral, and true. I never read this before, providing models that illustrate the diverse outcomes of different beliefs can enhance public understanding of complex issues. By presenting hypothetical or historical examples, societies can illustrate how certain ideas lead to outcomes that may differ from their intentions. For instance, modeling economic policies through simulations or historical case studies allows individuals to see how similar policies affected societies in the past, encouraging a deeper system-based understanding and societal dynamics and long-term consequences. I have no idea what that says. So let's go back to our presentation, which is, I'm making this crazy comment, and you see, so what I'm saying is that I think that Jordan Peterson, when he's tweeting a million miles per hour, I'm curious what you look like at this moment. And I think that if we're going to go ahead with this idea that you connect all internet traffic with a name and passport, a driver's license, and all kinds of social markings, it seems that that is not necessarily attached to this idea that Canada is still a safe and prosperous country. What? So I don't have any anonymity ever again? You want to end anonymity? Because you can't. like you're not really very good at your relationship with social media service providers. It's like you walk into the casino and you're like, I'm going to change the rules of the casino. Yo, dude, this is not your casino. So, I don't know. Can I just walk around? It's time Canada starts to be transparent. And define the definition of accountability. So this obviously goes back to the why I'm attaching it to this video. Because, I love to dog Justin Trudeau. Who doesn't? But, like I said, what's the difference between Lucifer? It's a belief system. And Lady Justice, the choice to be positive, choose positive, do good things. Decide just to be positive and decide to have faith, and then do things which feed the positive action and do things which feed the positive feeling. There's a practical, then there's an emotional. But the thing is that, some people believe, they want to believe. It's a decision. You have to choose to believe if you want to believe. It's like you have a seed. If you don't put it in the dirt, nothing happens. Okay, so how does a seed get into the dirt? You have to decide. So if you decide you want this element in your life, then you say, okay, I'm going to try this experiment. I'm going to put the seed. That's not ChatGPT. That's Book of Mormon. You put the seed in the dirt and see if it germinates. It's like so simple. But I think that psychiatry, it means how do you control aspects of people that seem to not work? It's way beyond me, man. What are you talking about? So, what's the difference between Lady Justice and Lucifer? So Lady Justice is more practical. It's just what are the things that which need to be done? How much fuel is needed to fuel these efforts? Choose positive. Keep going. Do what you can do. If you feel tired, it's legitimate. Take a rest. If you can do more, then do more. The more important thing is that we're supporting and we're defining efforts which need to get done. So it's a service organization. It's called Canada. And like I said, what's the difference between Lady Justice and Lucifer? You see, they're both blind. What happens when you end a video 3 times?